Thank you so much for coming out. It's cold in Cape Town, but you made an effort to come here. Thank you so much, Gavin, for seeing me, for really seeing me. I always scream out to my partner and say, I only want somebody to see me. And being seen means to be acknowledged. And I'm not asking for anything. Sometimes it's very, very important that we acknowledge all those that we love, to acknowledge the people around us, to acknowledge our children and grandchildren, friends, lovers, and mentors. And this is a special evening for me as one of my major mentors is here tonight, Donna A.M. Smith, my beginning, the person who encouraged me to shoot, the person who gave me her body to practice with, the person who read my text when I couldn't make sense. At school, we were given visual narrative. I couldn't read English. I just wanted to take photographs. You know, so I have been surrounded by most beautiful women in my life who have taught me lessons and lessons and lessons. And I'm trying to script a book, you know, just to give thanks for all that they have done for me, how they shaped my life. Queer people who are featuring in my series, who are on the wall there, and beautiful human beings who are shooting, who are my colleagues, my friends that I've been journeying with in different parts of the world. And to my family, you know, to lovers, because we learn a lot, you know, from former lovers. They call them ex, but they're not ex. They're so present in our life because we want to share intimate spaces. I just want to say to all of you, thank you so much for coming out. I repeat, you are at Muholi Art Institute. This is a space, a small space that I created to teach with the work that I have produced. So when you say to people, you are starting an institute, they like wonder, what do you mean? What's your qualification? I don't like to brag about what I've learned. What is important now is that we have an art institute that is independent from the government, whatever that is there to be. And we have good people whose knowledge is not like peer-reviewed, but who have informed the kind of work that we do. People like Teresa Reisenberg, who is the most studied human being in Cape Town, but never been acknowledged for the work that she's contributed for many scholars. I have good friends here. Next time, maybe when you come, you'll get to watch documentaries and movies that we have produced over a period of time. Yeah, so you are at the Institute. I can't stop thanking you, you know, just for being here. And to the Gavin Rajah team, I'm thankful, Gavin. To Julia, thank you so much. To Lavinia for working hard at this, thank you so much. And to Lulu, and Lulu, we have two Lulus in the house who have worked so hard to be here, and they make sure that this space is smooth running, you know, in a way. And to Joe Pelsa, who is my brother and is doing amazing work, and we're opening a new show at Southern Guild next week, Thursday. So I could say this is the pre-party, and we're gonna have a big party next week, Thursday, and you're all welcome. Yeah, it's Southern Guild. And I work with Julian and Trevin and the team members. And to everybody that I work with, you know, I would never forget you. I work with a team of young photographers and filmmakers who inform my text, who inform the project that I do, and then who challenge me with their own knowledge as well. And I'm truly thankful to all of them. Vernon is here. Linde, is here. And then Tara is here. Ayanda is here. So what I do, Gavin just mentioned earlier on how I give back to the community that I work with. So people who are mostly featuring in my work, I give them cameras in order for them to shoot themselves. And then I get to travel with some young people because opportunities are not as open for many like others. So now I have 2 human beings, Como, who just like scripted 200 hours in Paris. It's the most beautiful article. We just traveled together 2 weeks ago. Also, Kumo is featuring in Faces and Faces series. And just Tol Ntogozo, who traveled to 4 major cities in Europe, from Paris to Italy to Berlin and Lisbon, just landed today, this morning. So we have a lot of content that no university owns. It's independent information. And from the sales of my work, 30% goes back to communities. So far, I have funded more than 100 young people who have studied photography and filmmaking. And Lindega has been my co-facilitator for most informal training. Some of the students went to OMS, Cape Town School of Photography. Some of them are at Market for a workshop. Some of them are at AFDA. And then also we run like separate projects in which we continue to teach people photography and advise them to document their communities, because there's so much going on in our communities, but mostly it's left undocumented. And we can't rely on mainstream media because of propaganda and the corruptions that we get to read about on a daily basis. I think that as community, members, we have a way in which we could write our own stories without any interference from the gatekeepers. Yeah, I'll hold it there. When I'm excited, I think in Zulu. I'm so happy right now. I'm really happy right now. And once again, to the Gavin Rajah team here, Jason, all of you guys, you've been working on this. We are truly grateful. Not forgetting the staff, the people who are cleaning and washing these plates, those who are cleaning the toilets. Shouldn't forget the domestic workers, because without them, there's no events. There's nothing like this. The bar people, the media team, I don't know all of you by names, but you are worthy in your respective positions. Thank you so much.
I've written some words down. I don't freestyle as well as you. But I've just got a little bit of an introduction before we get into the questions tonight. So just a few words. Zanele, it's an honor to be here with you today, as always. As you know, I've got so much respect for you and for the contributions that you've made to our country and to our continent and to the world, and in empowering underrepresented communities. Every time we see each other, I feel a little intimidated, but always inspired and always hungry to learn more. And I think that's one of the most incredible things about you, is your ability to really encourage people to rethink and to interrogate history and to really challenge what we see as cultural norms. You really do push people to question what their roles are in society. So thank you so much for that. I know Gavin did briefly mention, but for anyone who still doesn't know, my name is Julia Buchanan, and I'm the very proud owner of a new web-based platform called Arts for Africa. Essentially, we are a non-profit online platform that's committed to empowering aspiring art professionals. And we really believe in kind of demystifying the art world and making education more accessible, very similar to Muholi and the Institute. So yeah, Zanele, your generosity and your dedication to education has really played a huge role in shaping our mission as well. And I really look forward to so many exciting new things that lie ahead. So I'm currently reading for my Master's in Cultural Leadership, And for our first assignment, I was asked to write a paper on someone that I see as a cultural leader. So who better than to write about than Zanele Muholi, the epitome of a cultural leader, whose bold and confrontational work provides a platform for dialogue within our society. Their name, Muholi, please correct me if I'm wrong here, which translates to leader in Zulu from English, beautifully reflects their role as a visionary and catalyst for cultural change. Beyond being an artist, Muholi is a visual activist, a teacher, and embodies all the true qualities of a leader. Their work challenges societal norms, drives very important conversations, and establishes a transformative impact within the cultural landscape. It's really a privilege to be here today to gain a little bit more insight into who Zanele Muholi is, what they stand for, and what we can expect in the months and the years to come. And I really think that tonight is a unique evening. Welcome to each one of you for being here. We've got individuals from all parts of the ecosystem, whether that's auctioneers, gallerists, patrons, artists, art lovers, and so much more. And we really are all privileged to be here, but I'd really just like to emphasize the importance of making sure that these conversations are accessible to those who don't have the privilege of accessing events like this. So I really look forward to sharing this discussion via our platform, via Muholi's platform, so that everyone can learn a bit more about Professor Zanele Muholi. Just quickly before I start, just a reminder, Zanele has a registry at the front desk. So before everyone leaves, please could you just write a little note in there. This forms part of the ongoing archive and is very important. So please don't forget to do that. So let's begin. Zanele, this year has really been a huge one for you with so many significant milestones. One of the very notable achievements was your participation at Expo Chicago, where, as I've read, Southern Guild showcased their debut booth. And it was during this event that you unveiled your new life-size bronze works, a really exciting expansion into a new medium. So could you maybe share a little bit about what's inspired this transition into the new medium and exploring these new avenues?
Yeah, it's exciting. With the bronze or the sculpture pieces that I'm exploring now since 2020, the first pieces were shown in 2021 October, and then I decided that I'll continue with this kind of medium, because we don't often see sculpture pieces of Black people in spaces like Cape Town specifically. And also, I just wanted to expand on the imagery, that's meant to be positive in a way. So when all the fees must fall and the destruction of the problematic sculpture pieces in Cape Town, I just thought to myself, then others fall and some need to rise, So, because I guess that we're ever there as Black people, but then we don't get to see much of us in that way that is positive, that is necessary, that educates. So it's just an extension of what I've done before, but also to educate my community that it's still a picture, Before it becomes that concrete bronze, it's a picture. And except that it's first captured with a 3D camera and expanded into something else. Then it becomes hard and bigger as you like. Inside my office, I have the small ones, which are still the same basically. But this is to say that we were here before and we are still here and we continue to rise as a people. And when people walk into these spaces and touch and look and they start questioning and say, who's this one? Is that you as well? And I said, yeah, it's still me. But I just don't want to be forgotten. I won't lie to you.
Never.
I don't want to be forgotten.
That's never happening.
I love me, and if I don't stress self-love, then it will mean I'm shortchanging myself really. So self-validation is needed at times. Half of my life I work as a full-time activist, and being an activist is not a job for the faint-hearted. It's a painful career to take. You need to be very strong and brave because there's a lot of backstabbing that is happening within the movement. So when I ventured into art, I thought to myself that it's like you're playing, but you can be serious with art as well. So I think I'm better here. And with that said, I'll encourage every person who loves themselves to not forget themselves, and also to make sure that they use themselves to educate others on how to deal with whatever that is happening around them in a positive way than to be drawn into negative.
Thank you. Truer words could not be spoken. Okay, so alongside this very exciting show, you also launched the Connect the Dots book, which is a lot of what tonight's about. So we'd love to learn a little bit more about this project and kind of the overarching goals, because it's a lot more than what you see, right?
Yeah.
So you've mentioned in the past that your preferred audience is in fact adults, which I find interesting, and I'd love to hear a bit more about that. So yeah, maybe you could tell us a bit about the purpose and the significance of Connect the Dots and kind of how it contributes towards your artistic mission.
Okay.
Thank you.
For some of you who don't know what the dots are or where they are, these are the dots. The dots are here. This is a hardcover book. The cover is an art piece on its own, so you could keep it for the next 20 years because these are limited editions, and it is a perforated book. Like the pages are perforated, which means you could tear it, like how you tear that glitter plastic. Yeah. And it is an interpretation of this book. So this is this and this. Do you get me? This, for those who are seated at the back. Yeah. And when I was young, I didn't have many books that made sense to me, you know? Even photography itself tend to be like difficult because there's no photo book that is written in my first language, which is Zulu. And I don't even know if it's done, how will you tackle that? It's just too complicated. So I grew up in Natal, in Umlazi. I'm a product of Bantu education, which is crap. And it never prepared us to become better people. We live in a country that has divided us, like the system divided people. So being in a room like this, when I grew up, would have been like a dream, because it was not possible. So my mom was a domestic worker. So the dots were part of the books that I saw when I visited my mom at work. And it would be of animals. And my mom would always say, please don't touch incwadi yomlungu, like don't touch the madam's book. You're not allowed to do that. Even like every time I see a swimming pool or water, I'll think of a system that divided us, where we weren't allowed to swim in the same beach. That's the system that, in a way, that like screws us when we think of it. The swimming pool, the beaches. It is what I'm tackling in the work that I produce, because I'm trying to heal the child in me that never had access to those things. So these dots are so personal, because it is that child that wanted to touch a book that never had access to. So, you know, it just pains me to think of it. So now that child is like trying to love self in so many ways, where even when I have just like a simple photo and I say to myself, you have to love yourself, child. And it's difficult for one to get over it, but then it comes into colors, you know, because then mostly black and white in my photos, they also speak on a divided system where distinctions of race were so blatant, you know. So that dots are much just like childhood wounds in a way, and I'm trying to heal daily. Now looking at the system in place where we never have time to ourselves, That's another point in connecting the dots. And like people hardly have like 5 minutes to themselves because we are so preoccupied. So the dot is a way in which you are invited to pause, just for 5 minutes and connect this dot. And connecting this dot has to do with your heartbeat as well, because that leads to life or better living. And then number 3, that dots are not only for children, but are for people who find it like difficult to focus. Yeah, I'm like so busy, I hardly have minutes or so. And once you connect the dots, you can see that they form a person. And that person is not me as such, but it is you. How will you form your whole as you go through whatever that you are going through? So, yeah, there's so much that I could say about that. Connecting us, we are connected by Gavin, by Julia, and you also now are connecting yourself with the next person who's seated next to you, who's a stranger, who then becomes, future partner. There's so much into it. But if we were connected like this, maybe we'll have electricity in this country. So this is a meeting for us to find a solution to undo load shedding.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I think it would be really lovely to hear a little bit more about the space that we're sitting in today, because this is a really special space. And I've had the privilege of visiting it a few times, prior to the event. And it really does have a profound impact on the people who come here and who have the privilege of working here. So it would be really nice to hear a little bit more about kind of the day-to-day of what happens at the Muholi Art Institute and what happens with the students. And yeah, maybe about just the different initiatives that you have going here. Tell us a bit more about that.
It's just a free space, really, and doing all formalities that are in place. I don't do well with formal structures. I believe in organic. Like we seated here, this is a beautiful classroom. Every student or learner or expert here has something to share with the next person. So that's how we should impact knowledge in a way. It doesn't need to be bombastic. And for me, the world in which I live, it doesn't matter whether you have a PhD or nothing. There is something that you're capable of doing. So that's what it is. So what we do here, sometimes I come to work, sometimes we work at home, and then we meet whenever we meet. And tomorrow we're going to have conversations in which Dogos will give feedback on her travels. Komo shares what's this 200 hours. Levina shares a travel from the greatest party in Ethiopia where she connected with Annelisa Mangu. People are doing things, but we never get a chance to just like unpack and share, because it gets stuck in the mind where people think that they have to write a certain way. So I really believe in fluidity. Let people just be. I read that it's Pride Month, there's a problem with some ad at Woolworths and the queer what. We come back and learn from each other. How can we best support, these companies, which is good, not to say we criticize people, because it's creatives who have done, that project. So this is a free space, fluid, very nice, and it is sustained through the arts. For every art collected, a space is created. A lot of people come into a space. We learn from each other. I learn every day when I go to Gavin's, because I mess up most of the time. And then he reminds me and he said, this is how you could do it better. And there's no better teacher, or there's no formats in which I learn, from different people. So it's just that kind of space. It's a bar today. Tomorrow I'll be putting serious prints there, checking if they are printed well, no alcohol. It's only when we have you that there's alcohol here. Nobody come and smoke here, no drinks. in any given time, because I don't want to encourage young people mostly that I work with to think that this is a space in which you could come and be queer and drink beers and smoke weed and no, I'm very serious. I'm very, very serious about it, because I mean, our community has been really destroyed by minor things. So we try to instill that, to say, until you could afford these things, and if you do them, you have to do it responsibly, But when there's a party and a meeting like this is okay. So it's a free space for conversations, for sharing knowledge. And if people have allergies to queer people, you're not allowed here. Yeah. And then if you're transphobic, you're not needed here. I don't need you. I mean, I work with people who are who they are. And I have to be transparent with how I conduct business without being apologetic about who I am. So that's what I preach. So the space is for people who want to engage in conversations, who want to learn, who want to respect, because respect also doesn't have any book. There's nowhere where you could learn to respect. It has to come from within, and it has to be done easily. Yeah. Racism is a problem in Cape Town. If people have allergies with black people, why? We cannot. We can't deal. I cannot. I'm sorry. So that's how it is. So like I said, I truly appreciate that we could come together as South Africans, as a people, before any gender or race distinctions or class distinctions. So I truly appreciate this. So that's what it is.
Thank you. So my next question revolves around something that I know you feel strongly about, and I know Gavin certainly feels strongly about this, and so do I, but it's about the transformative power of collaboration, particularly in the context of South Africa. So on that note, let's speak a little bit about your collaboration with Gavin, which is so beautiful, these couches. I feel very lucky to be sitting on one. So Gavin, who's similarly to you in art, has been a huge catalyst for change in the local fashion industry, as I'm sure many people already know. He's been an advocate for equal representation and has mentored so many of South Africa's most established designers today. More recently, he pioneered the Future Wear project at Pick n Pay Clothing, which is a program that provides young designers the opportunity to design for a huge audience and to have their ranges available in Pick n Pays nationwide. So could you perhaps give us a little bit further insight into the collection and the vision you had for it, and following that, why you think collaboration is so important in our country today?
Collaboration starts from homes where we share, a loaf of bread, and it has to come from a space with values, a space where people are passionate about what they do and what they do for other people and for each other or for themselves. So when I said earlier, I truly appreciate being seen, which has to do with being recognized. So now meeting a person like Gavin and who challenges you, it's like something else. So and this person is like saying things that are like so impossible. I said, Jehovah, guys, how do I do this? And it made them sound so simple. And I don't know how we get to, like, I have a cake with Afro combs. And these patterns that he's used here, they are from pictures these are original pieces. These are cable ties that I'm wearing in one of my pictures, which is in the book here. These are cable ties. And this is a travel pillow that I'm wearing in one of the pictures. And the patterns are turned into mandala style. So I'm wearing an original piece of something that is created by another creative who has been in the industry for long. I'm not a designer. I think, not like a designer, I see visuals all around me and I get excited. But then now to have someone, you know, who came forth and say, this is what I could do for you and I could do with you, meant a lot. And it meant that the archive that I'm trying to produce expands, you know, and also I get to even see more images, because the art world is so lonely. And the top of the art world is even more lonelier than what, you know, meets the eye or what we read about in art magazines. Sometimes you long for that person in which you could be original and do not pretend to be anything. So when I'm in the presence of Gavin, I learn to be myself and I don't need to fake anything, because I feel like I'm naked in front of this person. So why do I have to lie about my feelings? So it's easy to work with him in that way. It has been. He has welcomed me in Cape Town more than I even thought that Cape Town was possible. So, because when you are here, it feels like you're on a long holiday. And you like wonder, when will I return to Joburg or Devon? So now I have a purpose to say I will stay a little bit. Because it's here, you know, and it make it possible for me. So this collaboration means a lot. There's an artist that I like very much. Her name is Hahoy Kusama, who works with Dot. I also have that like idea when I look at the patterns in my work, which Gavin has turned them into something real that I get to appreciate. I'm not for like brands. I don't own any brand names that like are big, like a belt for 20,000 and shoes for 50,000. I don't know that, which I respect for those who do. And in my head, I forever wanted something that I could call my own as well, with my name, in which I also celebrate my ancestors. Then that becomes Somnyama Ngonyama. And Gavin turned that into magic. He just like drew me into that magic space that I ever longed for. And somehow I feel like I'm home. And I always say to myself, the image of the future is like getting clearer and clearer, because maybe this is what we want to see in the future, which is my take and which is Gavin's approach to how it's supposed to be. Then that togetherness. I used to say to my team, Sisonke means we're together. That was just my hashtag for the longest time. And I think that if we do work on this project together, the tension, you know, is eased in a way. Because then it's not impossible. It's not really possible for people to, you know, to do things on their own, respecting those who are capable of, you know, doing it. But like at this time, like creative industry need collaborators. It's the basic essential, I think.
Thank you. And I think it is so true. There is so much talent here. And I think if we can harness each other's strengths and work together, there's magic in that. So we definitely can't go this evening without speaking about Paris and what happened there. So as Gavin did mention, Zanele broke a French record for the highest number of visits to an exhibition by an LGBTQIA plus artist ever. I think we need another round of applause. So during our conversation following this achievement, you emphasized that this milestone is not solely about Zanele Muholi, but represents something much larger. And you mentioned that it signifies the creation of a space in the global archive for underrepresented communities. And it serves as an inspiration for people in South Africa. So could you perhaps expand on the significance of this event, both for France and for South Africa? And what made this achievement so crucial in terms of cultural representation and the impact that it's got on these marginalized communities in their respective contexts.
Zulu again, I'm thinking in Zulu, I'm thinking, oh, hooray. I live in South Africa, I love this country. I was born here, I grew up here. Then one gets an opportunity to go to Europe and America, where people there, they really, really appreciate most of what we do, you know? And also that on its own comes with its own challenges, you know? Like breaking this record is like, you know that you are what you are for the longest time, but then there are moments in which you feel like invisible in your own space, in your own country, because there's so much going on. And this is not to say I want like only LGBTI people to be treated special. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just believing equal rights, equality, if there's something like that, you know? So now when I say the record breaking is not for me, it is for the museum and the museum staff and the people of like France and many other individuals who frequent that space, because people have been bruised. A lot of LGBTI people have been sidelined, excluded, and disrespected at workplace, at schools, at churches, at homes. People have been denied their right to exist in most of these spaces where they spend like 8 to 9 hours per day. So now you are in the art world. The art world which is infested by hate, and then you deal with museum directors who hate themselves and they want to project their hate to those artists who are so like out and open. So there's no ways that there could be straight looking in the world that says, I have a right to exist. So we're talking of a space that is South Africa where like almost daily a person is killed here for being queer, for being trans, for being lesbian, or for being whatever. It's even worse when you read about in the media and it's normalized as if nothing happened, you know? So somebody had to say something. So when I say that this record is not for me, it's because France itself never gave a Black LGBTQI person that particular space. So now when given an opportunity to showcase, and I thought to myself, I have to make this work. I have to use my PR strategies. I have to use the skills that even the team of these curators don't have. So that comes with professionalism, with being open, with being assertive, of being straightforward when somebody treats you otherwise and say, I don't agree with that. I don't need this space then if you cannot respect the people in these photographs. You cannot respect what I bring on the table. So the struggle never ends. Even from day one when the exhibition opened in Paris, I had to call Robin Sprong to fix some mess that was done by the museum. I was like mad. They had to reprint in Amsterdam, and the person in Amsterdam had to drive from Amsterdam to install in Paris. Then 2 weeks after the exhibition opened in Paris, the posters on subway were torn of a trans woman featuring in my work. And then before we close, because then when the exhibition happens, I travel again and again to monitor what is going on. I can't just leave it to the museums. It's my work, and at the end of the day, featuring, you know, individuals that I honor and love so much. Walking to the hotel where I was booked to stay, we're faced by the most painful racism. Luckily that day we were with the director of the museum, Simon Baker. That woman completely refused. Kumo was there. The woman said, you cannot be here in my hotel, and call security. This is Paris just last month. And the woman said to Kumo, your bag will destroy my couches, my sofas. Simon, the museum director, was so disgusted. And I said, when we tell the very same people of France, of Europe, who come to this country and enjoy everything here, they don't believe us. When I said in May 2023, we faced the most painful racism in your country. I mean, we welcome these people because South Africans are loving people. This is not to diss those who come here, you know, with good intentions. People, they come here and do anyhow. But when you get to their own spaces, you're not the same like how you have treated them here. So my life in the art world has not been that glossy. You know, it's been the most painful period. So I was intentional with what I wanted to achieve. And when I have exhibitions, I travel with a team of South Africans so that they will experience the same, whatever that they'll experience. And they will speak for themselves and they get to know what is going on overseas. So I always feel so sad when a person who's never traveled before, they'll say to you, please put me in your suitcase. And I'd say to myself, if only you know, it's not as cozy as it seems. Mm-hmm. And then I got to London. London, nice London, cold London. You know, you're in a space where you think to yourself, now I want load shedding, I don't want to be here. That's how I felt in London in March. You know, I just wanted to be home and it was so cold and people were not so nice. And the pound was pounding as well. Yeah, so it's been a struggle and a half, it's been painful, but then if you know what you want to achieve, you will persevere. So I'm writing a book about my travel experience. And in 2017, I was hosted by Stedelijk Museum in Amsterdam. And one of my colleagues was thrown down the stairs and almost died in Amsterdam. And then this was trending on Instagram, and Instagram just cut that link because it presented exactly how South Africa became what it is today. Yeah, so people have been ill-treated. So what is perceived as an achievement, I'm still saying it's an achievement for the museum because the world will see the museum as a place of change. But nobody will know what is happening behind the scenes. And it's for us as Black LGBTIQA+, community to know that it is possible. And those of us who don't want to write this history as collaborators, as participants in Faces and Faces, another project that I'm doing, it's up to them. Because you're not seen anyways. The only time that we are relevant is when we are curatively raped, when we are dead. That's when people know that there was someone like you. But to say you're gonna crack the art world is not an easy space to live, but the art world is one of the most beautiful spaces, again, if you know what you want to achieve. So it's been a journey and a half, and I'm so happy that I'm one of the pathfinders alongside the participants in my photographs, because through these journeys, we learn to be stronger in as much as those who are in charge, they try hard to break us. But yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So we've got 2 more questions and then we'll get to main course, which is going to be delicious. So the second last question, I wanted to look a little bit more locally at South Africa, at the kind of the art systems here. So I'm currently working on my final dissertation, exploring the key challenges in the various local art ecosystems, particularly focusing on tertiary education. And in my research, I've come to believe that one of the most significant challenges that we encounter, not only in this country, but across the continent, is a lack of belief in the value of art and in the transformative power that artists can have in making change. So from your perspective, I'd love to know how you think that we could navigate this challenge, and what kind of strategies or initiatives do you think we can kind of put into place to foster a better understanding of the importance of art and what it can do for our society? Big question, sorry.
It's not, it's an easy one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not. Now I'm helping Julia to write one chapter.
Thank you. It's for Sunday.
Book. Annalisa. Oh Lord, it's a simple one. I'm helping Julia here, Annalisa. Please mark Julia. This is my response. Hope, yes. This is simple for me. It's really, really simple. First of all, with any knowledge sharing and any artifact, we need to first acknowledge, people. Yeah, because there's a tendency of scholars who listen very well and who steal from those people who are organic intellectuals and who are not listed as expert. I'll give you just a simple example. I work with a group of women in rural Durban. They don't call themselves artists. They never believe in art. So Zulus are raw, like raw people. When you speak of art, they will say into. They will say lento yenzayo. Into is written as in like INTO. Into is into in Zulu. So it's a thing. It's like it doesn't have any value or worth. These people are talking about my photographs. They say, oh, these black pictures, you mean lento mnyama kanje igisa phesheya? Like this black thing takes you overseas. It's painful, Now we have to do a lot of convincing and said, no, this is a photograph. It's me. I'm beautiful. They laugh at you. There's no nothing serious whatsoever. Anyways, to cut the matter short. So I work with a group of women, never went to school. They are rural housewives. They are beautiful. I like working with them because it's the best therapy for me, to be honest. Yeah. So when they talk about their creative children, they still think that it's a waste of time. So 2 years ago, we worked on a documentary talking about that and also what the experts have done to them. When you just like ruled out, counted out of the system. So I thought to myself, it's very important to work on a book with them in order for them to see themselves and recognize the art that they are producing. In that way, they could claim the A word and see themselves as people who are worthy. Because when they work on this beautiful project, they say, as long as I take my child to school, this is to put food on the table, learn, this thing. Yeah, that's number one. Two, I think that for every piece of what we see or perceive as art, to get those books, published, even if it's just like a mock-up or something that is archivable, then we could expand on that. Create informal spaces like this for possible discussions in order for you or also for you to listen to yourself and get feedback. It might not be a positive one, but you will learn something from it, And also to ask questions. Sometimes it's very good to be honest when you don't know anything, to say, I really don't know. Could you please clarify it, simplify it for me? 4, 5, 6. When we look at the system, which is another something that I'm working on in my head, I'm going to rewrite all the creative art books to make sure that most kids in the rural areas and in the townships get to value their creativity and also to teach their families about their worth. Because seemingly at most of our families or homes, you ask question of where are you gonna work? How are you gonna support your family with this thing? Art is disregarded big time, Art is not perceived as part of the economy that we we're part of as a people. So if you tell your mother or your father, say, I'm going to be an artist, Haibo, you're going to be a mokar in the house. Because, I mean, serious people are nurses and doctors, and also they are teachers. So the worst part, based on observations as we work with students or schools, different schools, because we have an exchange program here. We invite youth from Natal to come and visit Cape Town galleries and museums. And it's not like a governmental funded initiative. It's what I do with the teachers that I work with or that I'm friends with. The teachers, a slow learner or a child that is challenged will be sent into an art class. So art classes are not for smart kids. And yet the slow kid or Babalo has a good way in psychology how she puts it. So they say, oh, domorosa. Hi, move on about domorosa. A domorosa is like a wheelbarrow that doesn't move.
Okay.
That needs someone to push it. That's how painful it is. And this is done by teachers at public schools in the township. And it's so painful because these kids, they need support and they need someone to say to them, you can make it work, And it means that by the time they reach a certain age, it's hard for them to even reach like grade 12. So the teachers they never visit West. The teachers never visited galleries, never visited museums. They said the principal just sent me to teach that class. They're not passionate. They just don't care. They're destroying, creative kids' futures. And it pains me. So I think that we need to have that art psychology class that will help the teachers to teach art better or to even teach themselves and change their behavior. So there's this psychology in how the art pedagogy could be changed. And I think it starts there. And then the need for us as artists to teach our families what exactly we're doing. Because estate of most artists lies at the hands of the other, simply because our families refuse to understand. Do you understand? They only think that, we don't even know what this person was doing. When you are just like dismissing somebody's legacy and you're destroying the archive, it's even worse with some families. You buried with your negatives. I mean, hey, God bless. Hey, let them go with this thing. It's so painful. You can't bury the archive unnecessarily. So there's a lot of teaching that needs to be done. And there are no shortcuts into it. And it's very important that one person teach the next person and that other person teach the next person. And that's where we would get to reach somewhere. And if you know that your family, the friend's family who was an artist doesn't want that archive, let's even buy it to save it for the future generations. Because it is through that work that we get to know of those that existed before us. So there's a lot of work that you still need to do. Right now, we're just scratching the surface. Okay.
I'm excited. Told you guys, always so much food for thought. My brain's like, I'm definitely not sleeping tonight. Zanele, so to finish off, I want to find out a little bit about what's next for Zanele Muholi. I mean, I know you've got the solo show coming up next week, which is very exciting. But yeah, so much has happened this year, and you've hit so many incredible milestones. So I guess my question is kind of like, where do you go to from here? Because it's all been so incredible. So how, if you had to envision, say, the next year or the next 5 years, what does that look like for you?
In the next 5 years, I'll have 20 books published. Then I just did the dot-to-dot. And then I'm owing myself 2 more dot-to-dots because the book in which these dots translated or interpreted from has more than the 50 images that you have in the first dot to dot. So if I could have volumes of dot to dot, I'll be hitting the chord. And then we're working on the second volume of Somnyama Ngonyama, which will have more than hundreds. And we just finished our meeting with Renee Musai, who's based in London. Yeah. And then I'm a big collector. I own more than maybe 500 best artworks. I'm getting there slowly, and I support artists. So I want to collect as much, and the challenge that I'm having now is the best storage. And then I'm learning to archive, because I'm a mess. That's also a next tool for me, to learn how to archive my work.
It's going to be tricky.
Yeah, I don't even know. But I just want to focus on books. We have a lot of moving picture. We have a lot of still pictures. There's a lot of unpacked or neatly packed images that we have. We're talking of an archive that now dates back to 11 years, because here in Cape Town in 2012, I lost my archive. Somebody just ransacked me and stole. They burglared the place where I stayed here in Frederick, and I lost massive archive of more than 20 years then. So I had to almost start afresh in 2013. So what I had now is what was saved then, and also what I collected from friends who donated back what I gave them. So in 11 years, I had to kind of like start afresh, and I overworked myself, you know. I'm working on books for my grandchildren, working on books that speaks to where I come from. And like I mentioned earlier on, that my mentor and a friend, Donna Smith, that I started Forum for Empowerment with, Forum for Empowerment of Women is here. So she really helped, you know, shaping me to better present this work. So we're working on a like mini conference. So if you could have 4 mini conferences annually, it will mean that the shape of the Art Institute gets into a better direction, because we learn from other people and others also learn from other people. I'll also be publishing my collection in 2024 with some of the works by Lindeka Kambi, Tembela Dick, Colin, and many other individuals that I've worked with who have kind of like guided me and shaped me to become a better photographer, because they do it better than me. Thank you.